Well, after recording this, it is officially after midnight on the East Coast, which means that it is Christmas. And all I want for Christmas is a new defensive coordinator. Grossi Posse Packer Nation. Welcome to an episode of the podcast where you don't have to Packers fan, but it sure does help. I'm your host, Tom. I don't think I've been this upset about a win for ever. Grossi, and today we are going to be talking about the Green Bay Packers win over the Carolina Panthers 33-30, and there's a bunch to talk about. And I know that it's late. I know I'm putting this out late. I was streaming all day, but I've been thinking about this game nonstop because at the end of the day, the most important thing is the Green Bay Packers won. They won the football game. They're 7-8 right now. Their playoff hopes are still alive. The Lions defeated the Vikings, which really helps, even though the Seahawks did wind up winning, and so did the Falcons, which doesn't help the Packers. The Packers could still make the postseason and have a pretty good chance to do so if they win their final two games against the Vikings and the Bears. That's not why I'm upset, right? And also, I want to take this hot second to congratulate the Detroit Lions fans because they did win. They won the NFC North, clinched the title the first time ever they've won the NFC North, and legit, it's not pandering or anything like that. I've talked to a lot of Lions fans since 2015. Every single year, I have talked to at least two Lions fans, person by person, in an interview. And then, these past few years, just kind of knowing the fan base, Lions fans coming around, the subreddit. Truly, legitimately, no sarcasm, congratulations. This is a really big deal for you, your franchise, and savor this one. You know, this is probably just the beginning, and I hope that the rivalry between the Packers and Lions is awesome these next few years, and hope there's a lot of competitive games. But this one, you've earned it. I know you've had some ups and downs this season, but congrats to the Lions. So, and also thank you for beating the purple incarnation of Satan Vikings, because like I said, it does help the Packers. But I do want to talk about this game because it's at this point that Jordan Love, for me, legit, regardless of what happens these next two games, he is the guy for me. And this season, I know they've gone through their ups and downs, and Jordan Love has gone through his ups and downs. He did really well in the beginning of the season, then really struggled in the middle, then beating the Chargers, the Lions, and even playing well against the Steelers, and then, of course, knocking off the Chiefs. We were on cloud nine. Giants game struggled, then came back at the end, led a drive that we thought was going to be game-winning until Joe Barry's defense took the field. And even last week against the Buccaneers, while the defense didn't play well, Jordan Love did. And today, Jordan Love played well again. And I know the offense really struggled in that fourth quarter. It really just seems like they stalled out a little bit. But Jordan Love, 17 for 28, 219 yards, 2 touchdowns, was only sacked one time. And the reason why it's now that Jordan Love is the guy for me is he is doing all of this without a healthy roster. Aaron Jones coming back today, went 21 for 127, had a very, very nice day. But A.J. Dillon, he's unhealthy right now. He has a broken thumb, working with that. And on top of that, Wicks, he leaves the game. No Christian Watson, no Jaden Reed, and he still is able to make this happen. Romeo Doubs, 4 for 79. Tucker Kraft, 4 for 60. Bo Melton, 4 for 44. He is doing this without his top wide receivers. The O-line hasn't been healthy all year. Left tackle Dave Bakhtiari hasn't played, and he's still making plays, and he's looking like he's getting progressively better and better. He's making those wow throws every single week now. And for me, if there is anything that comes out of this season, it seems like Jordan Love is the guy. But that's not what we're going to talk about here. Today, we are going to talk about the Joe Barry defense. Again, because this performance legitimately might be the worst one yet. Because we have seen Preston Smith on Justin Jefferson. We have seen defensive backs play 9 yards off of the receivers and they only need 4 yards to get the first down. We've seen it all. But this week, today, on Christmas Eve, Joe Barry's defense legitimately should have lost the Packers the football game. Bryce Young had the best game of his career, and it shocks Absolutely nobody. And let me be very clear. The Panthers are not a good football team, and the Packers almost lost to them. Not only did they blow a massive lead, allowing 14 points in the fourth quarter alone, but the Panthers, if they had a timeout left, that game would have been potentially tied, and who knows what the Panthers would have done if they got the ball first in overtime. Bryce Young, 23 for 36, 312 yards and 2 touchdowns, was only sacked 2 times. 2. DJ Shark tore it up, 6 for 96. Adam Thielen, 6 for 94. Tommy Tremble, 4 for 59. This defense was horrific. And that last drive of the game where they got in field goal range, we saw that against the Giants game, except the only difference was the Giants had a timeout and they hit the game-winning field goal. This is embarrassing. Because back-to-back weeks, you had the NFC Player of the Week, and it was the opposing quarterback who went against the Packers. It was Tommy DeVito. And guess what? The following week, the Saints sacked him 7 times. Then you had Baker Mayfield, who, kudos to Baker Mayfield, he crushed today as well as the Bucs rolled over the Jaguars. But Bryce Young, look at these stats. Look at them. Can you point out which game he played against the Packers? It's pretty obvious. And as I've said all season, we can give grace to the offense, a bunch of leeway, because there are a bunch of young and inexperienced wide receivers, tight ends, quarterbacks on this team. But at some point, we need to look around and go, hey, the defense, they need to play better. How many years do we need to sit through Joe Barry to go, all right, well, maybe he's going to get it this time? And as I have said, again, all season, it is not just Joe Barry. The Packers could fire Joe Barry right now, and that would not miraculously change the defense. Would they potentially play better? I think so. But there's also just significant problems on the defense. The lack of tackling, the lack of any sort of pressure, especially on that last drive. You had 2 defenders that were just sitting there. They were waiting, and Bryce Young was sitting there in a clean pocket. So there is just so much going on. I know there's stories about Jair Alexander, and he came out and very nicely said, well, you know, it was what the coach called, but it was a pretty good game plan. And I know there's a lot of crap. Jair did not play well today. Eric Stokes, again, for the second week back from injury, did not play well today. But there are significant problems with this defense. And right now, it starts with Joe Barry, the defensive coordinator, in which when he was hired, everyone was scratching their head and going, why? He was the defensive coordinator for the 0-16 Lions. He was with Washington when they were super horrible. And so now we're just sitting here on Christmas and going, all right, well, 2 more games until Joe Barry is likely fired. Because if the Packers make the playoffs, everyone's just hoping and praying that that doesn't save Joe Barry's job. And I know this sounds incredibly mean and targeted, and I'm sure Joe Barry is a great person. I'm sure he's a really cool guy. And I really feel bad for him when he's like, you know, this affected my family, the whole 9 yards. I don't wish any of that upon him. I will say, though, when it comes to job accountability, bro, you got to be accountable for your job. And Joe Barry is not doing great at his job, and he hasn't been doing great at his job. I was wondering why the hell they brought him back this year. Brian Gutekunst, I bring this back every single time in the press conference last year at the end of the season going, yeah, we thought the defense was going to allow our offense to gel a little bit more. They didn't. And guess what? They are not doing this young team any favors right now on defense. And so Joe Barry needs to go. And LaFleur, in his post-game press conference, kind of shifting some of the blame to the offense and saying, well, the offense has to play better too. Which, granted, they need to play better in that second half. But man, they scored 33 points. Your defense should be able to hold a 2-win team to under 33 points. And they barely did that today. And so now it's just frustrating because these next 2 games are playing the Vikings and Bears. And now listen, I'm very excited for the Packers to potentially make the postseason, regardless of how slim those chances are, because that would be great experience for this young team. And plus, Jordan Love, he's played his ass off this year. He's going to finish top 10 in touchdowns, so he deserves it. But now it's all about, all right, Packers fans are saying, I just want us to lose so that Joe Barry gets fired. And I don't think that's a really good mindset. But at the end of the day, I also really can't blame them because for years, we have just seen this same kind of defense over and over and over again. And I think today, on Christmas Eve, personally, I reached my breaking point. I'm tired of seeing the same exact crappy, soft defense. I'm tired of seeing players out of position. I'm tired of seeing players wide open. I'm tired of seeing QBs having record days against this defense. And I'm just tired. I'm tired of seeing it. And I know this sounds like entitled fandom, but when you see it over and over and over again, and the investment in the defense keeps on happening, it is exhausting. And so, yes, the Green Bay Packers won. They are one step closer to potentially making the postseason. But right now, the only thing that I'm thinking about right now is how handcuffed this defense is. Not only by their defensive coordinator, but by some of the players and their execution as well. But I don't think any of that gets better until there is a change in coordinator. And Matt LaFleur can defect some of the blame to the offense. He can do that. That's more than fine. But at some point, a decision needs to be made. And I know that firing him right now is just going to satisfy some bloodlust from this fan base. And not even saying to fire him right now. I'm just saying the fact that you brought Joe Barry back and year after year, we have gotten terrible results. And I mean terrible results. It's done now. It's all done. We need to move on. And whether it is now or whether it is a couple weeks from now, Joe Barry's time with this team has definitely run its course, and I can only hope that the next person they bring in is not a friend of the head coach or anything like that. It's somebody who is best positioned for the job, and this goes for Rich Bisaccia as well, because the special teams is looking like hot garbage as well. This goes down to hiring practices. Can LaFleur make the decision? I hope he can. And I just hope that whoever the next defensive coordinator is, they're able to maximize the talent that we have on defense, because there is a lot of it. Because watching this defense get wasted every single week and expecting teams to run and throw all over us, like I said, I'm just tired of it. But of course, let me know what you think down in the comments below. You know, I saw me at Tom Grossi Comedy, all social media see down below. A big shout and thank you to all the patrons and YouTube members for supporting this channel. And thank you so much for watching. A very happy holidays and Merry Christmas to you all for everybody celebrating. I'm Tom Grossi. And as always, go Pack Go.